This video is the paintbrush image, and I start it like this. I usually start with a grid and a small rectangle about 3 inches tall, about 1/4 of an inch wide. Okay, I take that rectangle and I alter it into a paintbrush handle using our old friend, the reshape tool. So you can see it here. With the reshape tool, I'll add anchor points here. Using my grid, I can kind of keep them right across from each other like this. I'll put one here at the bottom. I'll also put one right here and one right here. Okay, so 5 anchor points added there with the reshape tool. Remember, the reshape tool adds curved anchors, and so I'm going to go back now and using my direct selection tool, select these one at a time, and I'm just going to count clicks. 1, 2, 3. Using the arrow keys on my keyboard, this one with the left arrow key, 1, 2, 3. You just want to make sure that each time you're doing this that you're selecting just one anchor point, the ones that you made with the reshape tool, counting 1, 2, then I'll click right here, and 1, 2. And then on the bottom, just add a little round at the bottom with the down arrow, 3, 4, 5, let's say. Okay. Okay, so now you can see the little handle there filled in with a light gray, just so it kind of shows against the background a little better. There you can see it. Okay. Next, there is a kind of a chrome colored top here for it, that holds the bristles to the brush. And so I'm just going to draw a little rectangle right here. Been using a lot of that click and then option key and drawing it out from the middle like this. I'm making it slightly bigger than the top of the handle. Alright, now there's the next shape. There again in preview, in outline view you can see it just a little bit better. Okay, for the next shape I'll use an ellipse, and by using my grid and everything centered, I'll again click and then add the option key, and I can drag a shape in here that looks kind of like the bristles. If you need more space, press the space bar and then let up with the space bar and you can come back down. Okay, if that's too big, you make it smaller again with the space bar, bring it back down where you want it, which is right about there. Okay, that drawing out from the middle with the option key is so helpful. Alright, if we look back here in preview, you can see that I've got the 3 basic shapes there that are involved in the paintbrush. Now, go ahead and give it some color so we can see it a little bit better. I'm going to do the brush handle this way. I'm going to start with a black to white gradient. Remember, there's a little starter gradient over here in the toolbar that'll help you with that. Make sure you add it to the fill with the stroke assigned to none. Okay. Now we've been doing a lot of work with the gradient tool, and you can manipulate your gradient tool to make it look a little better if you like. I kind of prefer not to have it pure white or pure black, and so that's what I'm trying to do here, is just give it so there's a little light gray on this side and a sort of medium gray on the other side. Okay, this time to adjust the color, I'm going to add another layer to our brush handle. Now you could do this perhaps in the gradient panel, but this is a way that I really like to do it. I'm going to copy, Command C, then I'm going to paste in front, Command F, and I'm just going to fill that with whatever kind of color I like for my brush handle. Maybe I'll use a red this time. Okay, now instead of leaving it that bright red though, I'm going to take my transparency panel and I'll cut this way down, say about 30%, maybe 40%, and you can see the kind of color that you get by letting the red be transparent on top of the black and white. It's just a kind of a more subtle type of color than trying to generate it through the color guide or by using just the gradient panel. Up here, we can kind of do the same thing. If you like, you could do a black and white, then adjust it with your gradient tool. I'm trying to make sure that my shadows kind of stay on the, on a consistent side, this right side. And then once I've got a gradient there that I like, I'll copy it, paste in front, and maybe change it to a different color. Maybe try to make it look a little bit brassier. Maybe add an orange on the top and cut the transparency down and see how I like that. That looks pretty good. All right. Up here on the brush, I first need to tuck it behind the other object. So I'm going to use my shortcut, Command left bracket, and I've just put it behind the orange. I need to send it behind the gradient as well. So Command left bracket twice there to send this back. And I'll continue to work with the gradient here and maybe take it at a slightly different angle. Maybe see what it looks like if I do something like this. Okay. Now the other thing I need to do is reshape a little bit of this too. So I'm going to go to my reshape tool, and I'm just going to click right here and then switch to my direct selection tool. Remember A, click, and you can use your left bracket or your right arrow key there until you get kind of a shape of a brush. Maybe bring this one down a little bit too. Okay. So now we've got that, and I'll add I'll add another layer to that. Copy, paste in front, zoom back out, and for the copy that's on front now, I will use a kind of a reddish color here again, as I kind of emulate the colors of maybe like a sable hairbrush. Okay, and of course you can continue to work with that until you're really happy with it. Remember, in your layers panel, you can select all of these different colors. Okay, this will be my paintbrush layer, and then all of these layers are inside here. If I want to select the gradient on the barrel there, I can rework that gradient that's underneath there. Try to make it look a little more realistic maybe. Okay, and sometimes that's easier than trying to pick from the from the image itself. However, if you decide, well, I really wish this was a little bit different shape, you can select them both by just dragging across both of them. You might need to turn off your smart guides just because sometimes they can cause problems as you try to reshape areas like this. What I'm doing there is I'm adjusting both layers by using that technique, the black arrow, and dragging it across. I've actually got both of them. If I just click, I get just one. Okay, so when you're selecting them, don't just click. If you want them both, drag across and you got them both. And you can resize those. I'm using my option key here again just to change the width a bit. Okay. All right. Okay, so I've got sort of the basic brush here now. I will now give it a little tilt. I'm going to grab the whole thing using the black arrow. Remember, you can select all those layers at once, and you can rotate them all at once this way. Okay. Now, I also want a shadow that's falling off of this. Okay, so I'm going to copy, Command C, paste in back, Command B, And I'm going to use my rotate tool and anchor it down at the bottom here, and then rotate that new copy out like this. Now if you do it that way, just the way I said, where you copy, paste, and back, and then rotate, you can use the rotate tool without the shift. I'm not using the shift, I'm not using the option key. It's just to rotate a copy of it, and you'll notice that it's rotated at that point, and the top layer, the top copy, is in front of the back. Okay, so that works good by using that paste and back. Now I do want to kind of even it up here at the bottom of the brush. I'm just going to, with it all still selected, I'm just going to move it up kind of like this. Okay, so because I'm going to turn this into a shadow, so we'll make it a little smaller. Now to make it into an effective shadow, what you want to do is reduce it down to just one layer. Right now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 layers. 6 layers there. If I go to my Pathfinder and use that Unite function, now it's all one layer. Now, why did it turn this color? Well, it turns out that that orange that I was using before is on the very top. Remember I tucked this one under, and this one was the first one, so the orange is at the top of the stack of colors. When you use that Unite, it inherits the very top object, the very top color for the object. Okay, it's also got the same transparency that this orange has, 60%. Okay, now what I want to do here is to give it, make it a gradient. Okay, I made it a simple black and white gradient, but that's not really what I want. And I want the gradient to go in the opposite direction. So I could use the little flipper right here and make that happen. And it sort of looks okay here. In fact, yeah, it doesn't look too bad. But what I'm going to do, instead of having going from gray to white, like you see here, I want to have it go from black to transparent black. And so I'm going to reassign this right-hand gradient by just going up here to my drop down. I'll grab the black. I'm going to replace the white with black. Now I'm going to select it, and I'm going to change this, what was white, make it into 0% black. Why? So that I can see through it. Rather than this changing to white, it just goes from gray to transparent, from black to transparent black. Now I had it inherited the 60% transparency. I'm going to go ahead and turn that back up to 100, just so it's kind of a good starting place. All right. Now I'll use the paint behind next. I'm going to go to my, just going to deselect, go to paint behind, or draw behind, and I'll draw myself a rectangle in behind this whole thing. Okay. Now instead of a transparency, I'm just going to go with a solid color, or instead of a gradient, I'm going to go with a solid color. I'll pick a nicer color for my color guide, something that has a little more subtlety to it, and maybe change the dimensions of it just a little bit. Kind of like for the paintbrush to stick out above it, and I'll change it this way. Okay. Now on that shadow, instead of being such a dark color right here, I'll use my gradient tool to change the length of my annotator. And you want this top part to almost fade to nothing. Okay, I'm just going to check it out there. You can see how it's almost nothing right there. Okay. You can also make adjustments here and even over here. You can get it just where you like it. Now you can even draw a new one that goes maybe this way if you think that maybe is a better way to get a more accurate kind of a gradient on that. Remember, you can change the length of it. You can change this part. That looks pretty good. All right, so that's the beginning for the paintbrush, and if there's anything else that you want to do to it, you can. Maybe feather or some other treatment to the background. It might look good.